All right, YouTube, it's Mr. Mean coming at you live from sunny Duluth, Minnesota. And we're looking at a balmy, let's see, just check the temperature. What is it? -6. No snow, so that's a good thing. Tonight is Magic Night. I get to go play Magic the Gathering with some friends. We play Commander. We might also give, I think we're going to give Keystone a try. I picked up a random deck. It's all, I don't know anything about the card game. One of my friends said it was an unabashed, shameless grab for cash. I don't know. It's Garfield. He made it. He made Magic the Gathering, which I do enjoy Magic, but I play Magic for fun. I don't play it for competition or anything like that because my brain just doesn't work that way. But anyway, today's those that are joining me live, welcome. Azela, hi. Just whipping out another video, man. If anybody else is in the chat there, pop in and say hi. We are whipping out a video today for a weird one. It's all I can say is we're going way back in the archives here. Let me see if I can get a date on this because this has been a while. I apologize. I should have done this before. I don't see a date. I hate it when companies don't put a date. It annoys me. I don't like to be annoyed. I don't see a date. Yeah, no date. I don't know when this was published. Bad, GM. Bad. Let's see. Sometimes they put copy. Okay, 2007. This is a game by Jason Souls and Nicole Vega. I love seeing women in the RPG industry. I think they are very underrepresented, and I think we need to see more of them. Chris Pramus's better half, Nicole Lindros, is amazing. She's a super nice lady. She moderates the forums on the Mutants and Masterminds websites, and she is awesome. And that's about the only woman. Well, I can't think of her name now. Her fame was White Wolf. She wrote a lot of stuff. I'm not on Facebook anymore, so I don't stay in touch with all these people. Azla says, I bought a Deadlands Hell on Earth book. All I know about the date was that it had a pizza coupon that expired in the 90s. Very much so, man. Very much so. Very cool. Deadlands Hell on Earth, by the way, one of my favorite Savage World settings. I have the new version as well. If you don't have it, go on Drive-Thru RPG. I think you can pick it up. You can pick up the PDF for like $10. And I don't know if I've ever done a review of Deadlands Hell on Earth. I know I've done the 25th anniversary of Deadlands. It's back there on the shelf, which if you don't have that, that's the original Deadlands where you rolled a chunk of dice, and it was a very cool setting. But I've got every classic book. Good for you. But that'll be one for since I've got a little free time, I'll probably whip one of those out. I also have my paint stuff set up. You can't really see it over here, but going to be working on my Frostgrave. I'm a huge fan of Frostgrave, and I have most of the stuff for Frostgrave. I was able, while I was working, to pick up the spell cards because I really like them. Frostgrave is a miniatures agnostic game by Joseph McCullough. If you don't know about it, go just do a Google search for Frostgrave. I did a review on it about over a year ago, and it's one of those games that to me bridges the gaps between tabletop RPG and tabletop miniatures games because it kind of has a little narrative to it. You have a wizard that basically is your character on the table. If you so choose, it can just be a guy you're manipulating if you choose. But if you're into creating a story and a backstory, and they have different schools of wizardry. Anyway, go back in the archive, watch my Frostgrave review, and you'll see. I'm also a huge fan of Malifaux, the miniatures game, and they're getting ready to come out with 3.0. I'm super stoked and hoping I get back to work soon so that I can pick up the new 3.0 rule book. If you're in the Duluth area and you want to play Frostgrave or Malifaux, hit me up, jpolak@gmail.com. spelled just like it is in the title of my YouTube channel, Polack. And let's get together and play a game, because I love Malifaux and I love Frostgrave. But today's video du jour from 2007 by EOS Press, EOS Press. Now, I looked up there, the newdarkage.net, and that website does not exist, but the EOS Press website might exist. I didn't get a chance to look it up, but we're talking about a little unknown game. I'm not sure how many people know about this one. I actually have to thank my good friend Brian Isaacoff. I believe, if I remember correctly, he gave this to me as a parting gift when we came to stay with him one year for Thanksgiving. We drove to California and we hung out with him for a weekend with my son and my wife. But it's Unhallowed Metropolis. And like I said, it's by Jason Souls and Nicole Vega. Let's go through the initial stuff. Published in 2007 by EOS Press, The New Dark Age. It's on the back there if you can see it. You can pause the video and take a look at it. This takes inspiration from Vampire the Masquerade and all of those games, as well as like classic horror of like The Wolfman, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It is set, well, it's all over the world, but the game predominantly takes place in London and New Victoria. Or Neo-Victorian, as there was a plague that broke out in the 1900s, and it caused the dead to come back to life, basically zombies. And of course, they made more zombies as they ate people, and then the dead would re-rise. So 70% of the populace all over the world was decimated, and zombies run rampant. And so mankind fought back, cloistered in these walled cities, and trudged on as humanity does. And that's what this game is about. And the cool thing is, Azala says, classic horror is best horror. Love simple slashers and zombies, though. This gives you all of that and more, Azala. It is a whopping, it's not a very big book, but it's not small either. A whopping 392 pages, with the last 2 pages being character sheets. Low bones, low, I don't want to say low production value, but not very high production value. Orange, a sickly orange insert, no art. And they went for this parchment style paper. I'm not a fan of it. It's hard for these old eyes to read it, but it is clear. The text is clear. They don't use any crazy fonts. It's not bad. Layout of the book, like I said, they go for this textured, splotchy paper. You can see the art is a mix of, black and white art. There is some, and credits are given in the beginning of the book for makeup artist. There's some black and white art, as you can see. And then there's also photos that have been like photoshopped. I'm trying to find one of those. I believe they preface every chapter. Yeah, there's one. That's an actual human being, and someone photoshopped it. And there's credits given in the beginning of the book for the people that did the photo manipulation, which is cool. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is with a lot of these games is we go from super creepy, character drawn art to Photoshop manipulated images, which just, to me, they break the theme of the game. I wish they would have chosen one form or another. I will say the nice part is that the art is somewhat consistent in its inconsistency, if that makes sense. They have a couple of different artists. I'm just trying to find one of these pages, and they go from the macabre to the steampunk Victorian style neo art. There is a couple booby pictures and stuff in there like that, which is just a black and white drawing. So if you've got young ones, you may not want to let them peruse this book. Here we go. Here's a nice photoshopped, a foot, so, and it's not bad art. I dig the Photoshop, but then we go to cartoony art, like that. And I wish they would have kept some sort of theme throughout. Either stick with the Victorian, black and white photos, or stick with the black and white fuzzy art, or stick with the line black and white drawing. It's just all over the place. Think of the children. Here's a manipulated black and white photo. Obviously, have some friends of the game designer and or playtesters dressed up in this neo-Victorian. So the year of the game is 2107, I believe, 2105. So from the early 1900s, let's see, 1905 is when the plague hits. The year was 1905. It was the dawn of a new dark age. Blah, 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 blah. London, 2105, the capital of the Neo-Victorian Empire, in a vast, densely crowded city surrounded by fortification 50 foot high. The dead walk the wastelands beyond the walls, and spontaneous outbreaks of the plague ravaged the population within. So they give you a timeline. It's like I said, it appears to be well written. I've never read this completely through because I have no interest in neo-Victorian horror, but I'm glad I have it in my collection. What little bit I've read of it reads very well. I found a couple spelling errors. That's nothing uncommon in role-playing games. You just can't catch it all. So let's go to page 79. I do not have a PDF copy of this. So it looks like it's all pretty much fiction up to page 77 and telling you about the world and everything. What's cool about this, though, I will say is if you're a vampire fan, but you don't like that angsty vampire, Azula says he or she has no interest in neo-Victorian either, so you're not alone. Yeah. I collect games, Azula. I don't turn away games. I have a couple bad games in my collection that I'll never play. And I have a couple really good games that I'll probably never play because they're just not my interest. This falls into that category. I have no interest in neo-Victorian, steampunk, neopunk, whatever you want to call this. Technology, there's psychic energy, there's vampires, there's ghouls. Basically, there's a lot of mad scientists running around because with the plague, everyone's trying to figure out how to prolong their lives. The rich get richer, the poor stay poor, and the zombies keep eating. So I'm not a big fan of these survival games where it's you against the world, and that's the vibe that this game gives me. Not saying it's a bad game. It may play amazingly well. I just don't know because I don't have anybody that would run it for me, and I'm not going to run it. I have no interest in running a game like this. So the Unhallowed Metropolis game system is based on 10-sided dice abbreviated as a D10 in the rules. Okay. When a player makes a die roll for a skill check or combat action, he will roll 2d10s abbreviated as 2d10 and add the results. Occasionally, dice manufacturers... Okay, we don't need to know how dice are done. Attributes, numerical statistics that define a character's raw physical and mental makeup. All characters have the following attributes: vitality, coordination, wits, intellect, will, and charm. Ordinary humans generally have attribute scores of 1 to 5. So this appears to be a stat and a skill plus 2d10 added together, beat a target number. See, attributes and skill rolls. Anytime a character attempts a task at which he has a chance of failing, such as scaling a wall or making a combat action, an attribute roll or skill roll is made to determine whether or not the action was successful. Attribute rolls gauge the character's success when performing an unskilled action based on innate physical or mental capabilities, such as blah, blah, blah. Okay, as their name implies, attribute rolls are based on the character's attribute. To make an attribute roll or skill roll 2d10 and add the character's pertinent attribute or skill as defined by the action attempted. Most rolls are made against the static difficulty rating DR assigned by the rules text or the narrator. If the roll meets or beats the difficulty rating, the action succeeds. So you don't even add an attribute and a skill. It's if you're doing an attribute test, you roll your attribute plus 2d10, beat a target number. If it's a skill, you roll the skill plus 2d10, beat the number. So pretty standard. You're not rolling pools of dice, like that's what differentiates it from, World of Darkness. But you do have all your vampires, your ghouls, your things that go bump in the night, and the players are just trying to survive. There are psychic powers, from what I saw. If I can get back to the index here, or the table of contents. Playing God, character creation, your calling, starting corruption, wealth, skills, quality, and impediment descriptions. Impediment. Impediment. I can read. And then character development. Tools of the trade, the anatomy of horror. So we have the animated dead zombie rules, the vampires, dampiers, and ghouls. And then we have science. And they have different things: smoke and mirrors, a glossary, and then they give you a list of photos. Obviously, they cared a lot about the images and everything that they were putting in the book. So there is actually a page dedicated to every photo. It's only one page. And it's all the people that were in that, and photo manipulation by Mark 17 or Higham, the lady at work. So just a thing. Let's see, the miracles of science, the forms of man, children of science to create the perfect soldier, the galvanist, therapeutics, and biomechanics. So no psionics, it appears. It's just science, where they give you powers beyond mortal men, so to speak. And it basically it's guns. There's a lot of guns in the game, and you want to shoot things, or swords are a big thing. Yeah, and this is a prime example of the art I was talking about. Here we have a nice black and white, spooky looking, photo, and then we flip the page and we go to some anime cartoon, inspired image. It just, the continuity doesn't flow for me. So is it a bad game? I don't know. I can't tell you that. I haven't played it. I can't give an opinion. The mechanics look okay. The character sheet is pretty bland. Asla says there is no greater fear than the fear of the unknown. It's something a lot of horror RPGs get wrong, I feel. Yeah, I think the only horror RPG to ever get it right was Call of Cthulhu. And that could be just because of the GM I had, who was a really good GM. And it was really funny because I spoke of this yesterday in my video. This guy, totally different person. This is back in my day when I lived in California. But a good friend of mine could run Call of Cthulhu like nobody's business. I mean, you were creeped out at his sessions, and he'd have the lights down low, and he'd have candles lit and incense, and you definitely get a feel of horror and suspense. And then he tried to run a superhero game, and it was a flop. It was horrible. He couldn't run superhero to save his life. Everybody has their calling, It's hey, Feral Games Inc. is in the house. So here's a copy of the character sheet, both sides. The watermark on the background. It's okay, kind of a steampunk guy in a mask. Feral, we are going over Unhallowed Metropolis, a EOS Press designed game by Jason Souls and Nicole Vega. It is available on Amazon and on Drive-Thru RPG. Drive-Thru RPG looks like it's only PDF. Hello, Kenny. Wow, we got 5 people in the stream now. Awesome. So again, we're going over Unhallowed Metropolis. Like I said, this was given to me by a friend. I've never ran it, but I was going through my boxes, looking for something to review. Yesterday's review of Fantasy Flight's Dark Heresy went over quite well. I think we're almost up to 80 views from people looking at it. So thank you for everybody that went and checked it out. I hope you enjoyed it. And I just thought I wanted to do something on the opposite spectrum. So Unhallowed Metropolis, basically the zombie apocalypse in 1905. It affects the world, but the game kind of takes the point of view of Europe, England specifically. And it's where, man walls himself out inside of these 50-foot walls. Outside of the safe zones is zombies running around eating people. It's just humanity's last stand, basically, and how science is looking for the equation to ever living life, everlasting life. And there's vampires, there's ghouls, there's ghosts, and of course zombies. It's all about the zombies. One of the things I didn't see in the book, and I'll try to flip through it a little bit better. Maybe I'll look at the index here and see if there's a list for protagonists. That was my desk. The drawer pops open in the front, scared the living bejeebus out of me. Let's see if they give a list of the anatomy at page 235 for the kids following along at home. If you have a copy of this, which if you have a copy of this, kudos to you, because I've never seen this on a game store, and I've been to a lot of different game stores. All right, so we talk about the living dead and zombies and lack thereof. So it's pretty cool. The anatomy, the pathology of the animate is what they call the zombies. Zombie rules. They cause fear. They're undead. So they suffer no fatigue. They don't tire. They don't need to eat, except they eat flesh, and it's absorbed into the body immediately. So they cause fear. One or more zombies must pass a will minus fear roll to avoid fleeing. See Chapter 2, page 85. So the rules are pretty concise. They give page references, which is nice. Prey sense. Zombies have a chance to detect the presence of living humans in their vicinity, regardless of whether the target can be seen, heard, or smelled by the creature. A zombie can make a roll to detect a character located within 50 yards times the character's highest corruption path rating. Corruption is a thing in the game, and obviously the more corruption you have, it easier for the bad guys to find you, obviously. It looks like there's characters is within detection range. The narrator makes a wits versus perception roll, difficulty rating of 11 for the zombie, and adds the character's highest corruption path rating to the animate's roll. Because remember, it's an attribute or a skill plus 2d10 to beat a target number. So the average of 2d10, I believe, is 10, maybe 11. Yeah, I'm with you, Asla. I don't like the cause fear. I mean, the players are supposed to be heroes. So if they have NPCs with them, sure, I could see the NPCs succumbing to fear, and that, makes it more difficult for the players, because now they've got to curtail the NPCs that are not, the bad guys that they may be protecting or working with. Those guys would be subject. I wouldn't necessarily make the player characters subject to fear. There's also half-lifers, which are the dampiers, so half vampires. It's rough being okay, this is kind of funny. Pre-existing damage. It's rough being a zombie. I don't know. That caught me funny. At the narrator's discretion, zombies may have pre-existing damage assigned to it. This will make the zombies somewhat easier to cripple. Narrators are encouraged to describe the injuries assigned to the zombies to add color to the role-playing experience. How many zombie movies have we seen where the zombies are limping, or they run really fast but they're missing an arm? And we all know from physics and body mechanics, if you're missing an arm and you can't run nearly as fast because your balance is off. That's the way our body mechanics are made. Let's see, people here. Yeah, Farrell, I'll agree with you. It depends on how it's done and what causes fear. In this case, zombies are the overall numerous bad guy. And again, I think the heroes are supposed to be heroes. So I wouldn't, if it was a zombie leader or a big bad zombie, regular zombies, I don't think, in my opinion, in my GMing style, would cause fear to player characters. Player characters are the ones that have, there's something about their mental fortitude. They're willing to go out there and face the evil. Or what I might do is a one-time check. Maybe you freaked out the first time you saw a zombie. And I might even cover that in the narrative of the players, becoming a hero. I don't know enough about the game that if they do that or not, but that is something that I would do in a game like this. Yeah, I agree with you, Farrell. The more they interact with the zombies, the less scary they are of them. We see that a lot in the horror genre movies with zombies, where the veteran zombie hunter, the zombies, The Walking Dead, they showed it a lot. The one guy, the cop, he wasn't freaked out by him so much because he woke up and he just walks up, puts a bullet in him. Yeah, I don't like the if you fail the fear check, you run away. I would imagine I would have to read the fear rules. And like I said, I haven't really read the game. But I would imagine the rules. I can see that the rules would stipulate that you probably run away in fear, or you're paralyzed. You might lose an action. But when you're facing a horde of zombies, losing an action is probably tantamount to making a new character, unless the other players. Zombies in combat. Yeah, so zombies grapple you. They swarm attack. A single character may be grappled by up to 5 attackers. So we have to assume from that little blurb right there that there's multiple when a zombie bites a grappled victim, it rolls versus DR 11 rather than 11 plus its victim's coordination. A zombie will bite any portion of the victim's anatomy it can reach, so the location is up to narrator. Because the zombie bites into the easiest part of the victim it can reach, zombie does not suffer a penalty for attacking any portion of its victim's body. Generally, the first zombie to grapple a character will bite into the character's neck, face, or head. Any other zombies grappling the character will have to content themselves with biting on the character's torso or limbs. Oh, darn. So obviously you want to be the first zombie there. Animate's jaws are capable of inflicting horrific wounds. When resolving a successful zombie bite attack, add the zombie's vitality +2 to the damage roll. Additionally, add any damage modifiers based on the portion of the victim's body into which the zombie bites. Then subtract the victim's vitality and double their value of the armor covering the location. Zombies only feed on the flesh of the living. Once a victim has succumbed to its wounds, the zombies that were attacking it will move on to the next living victim in the vicinity. Goes into the infection, because that's how the zombies spread, is through their bite. So once you die from your wounds, the zombies stop eating you. Evidently, there's something in your living flesh that they want. And it goes into describing the symptoms and everything. The 0 hour, hour 0, hour 1, hour 3, you get a fever. Hour 8, body temperature falls to near ambient. Numbness has spread outward from the wound site into the torso. The character loses 1 vitality point and continues to do so every hour until it reaches 0 vitality. When this happens, the character enters the catatonic state. When his vitality is next reduced, he dies. Reanimation is inevitable. So, and there's spontaneous reanimation. There's a table. So, they go into pretty good rules about it. Hot zones, animate attributes. So here's our basic zombie powers. Remember, 1 to 5 is a normal human. So vitality for a zombie is 4, but can be as low as 3 or high as 7. Coordination 2, wits 2, intellect, will, and charm are all 0. Go figure, it's a zombie. Prowess is a 4, but can be as low as a 2 up to a 10. Actions 1, but can have up to 1 or 3 actions depending. And because you can have higher, better zombies, shamblers, and they give, so an animate, the Ravener, these are fresh animates. These are guys and gals that were just turned and are coming after you. Then you have the shamblers, which are in a stage of mass putrefying flesh. The smell and appearance are horrifying, and their stats are adjusted accordingly. Other zombie strains, a zombie lord. I don't want to run into them. The zombie lord rules. So yeah, they go into it a little bit. We have vampires here. So they describe the vampire and everything about the vampires. There's a lot of fiction. So pathology of a vampire, they go into it and talk about the vampire feeding and the patterns, breeds apart. 2 different forms of vampires that are distinguishable based on the conditions of the intellect following the transformation into unlife. The first and most common is the feral vampire. As a creature with the human mind does not survive the death of the body, these are psychotic creatures lacking utterly in restraint, prone to killing at random, and unable to consider the consequences of their action. The second, far rarer and infinitely more dangerous, is the sentient vampire, and blah, blah, blah. So goes in to give us the more and more about the vampires and everything. And feeding, animal blood, psychology, Dampiers, half vampire, half human. Vampires gain alien grace, gains +1 charm, intimidation, and charm seduction rolls. Blood drinker, though a Dampier does not have to drink blood for sustenance, consuming human blood drastically accelerates the Dampier's recovery from wounds and makes the Dampier immensely, if temporarily, physically powerful. And it goes on to give you rules about that. And then there, of course, there's ghouls, and they're misshapen and everything that you would think about ghouls, and all the fun stuff. And then the miracles of science. So instead of going the atomic age, we go the Tesla age. So all the technology is based off of basically the Tesla legacy. There's a quick little blurb here that says, modern science says the sun is the past, the earth is the present, the moon is the future. For an incandescent mass we have originated, and into a frozen mass we shall turn. Merciless is the law of nature, and rapidly and irresistibly we are drawn to its doom. Nikola Tesla, The Problem of Increasing Human Energy, 1900. So it's probably a true quote from Nikola Tesla. So it goes into the science of it and everything. So in all fairness, it looks pretty cool. I'm just not a Victorian horror, even if it's in the future, 2105. We've got the catalog here, which is all kinds of drugs and everything that has been developed to deal with all of this stuff that you have to deal with in an age where you live in a giant, extremely overcrowded city. And then Victorian medicine. So charts here for procedures, for medical procedures. So, obviously there's going to be some stuff if you get bitten and that kind of thing. And then everything that they work on here. So, like I said, neat concept. I'm glad it's in my library. Will I ever play it? No, probably won't. Probably won't give this book a second glance, except to flip through it and maybe get some ideas for something. If I was running a Hell on Earth game or a Deadlands game, I might steal some of the images out of it and stuff like that. I think it's a neat idea. And again, kudos to Jason Souls and Nicole Vega. I've never seen their names anywhere else in the RPG industry. Doesn't mean they don't exist or that they're not working on other things. The book is neat. I'm glad it's hardback. It's in good shape. It's a stitched and glued binding. You can see the orange there with the stitching. It's held up pretty well. I've owned it since 2007. That I believe that's when. Well, I haven't owned it. Brian owned it in 2007, and then he gifted it to me back in 2012, 2010, maybe somewhere right around that. I don't know. We were still living in Arizona, and we made the trip to California to hang out with Brian for Thanksgiving over a weekend. So, like I said, the art's a little bit all over the place for me. I'm not a big fan of art that doesn't maintain consistency, but in this case, it's inconsistent in its consistency because we range from the black and white line drawing to the hazy, fuzzy drawing to the Photoshop manipulated pictures of steampunk or Victorian punk, whatever you want to call it. So the art in here is good, most of it. The photo manipulation I can take or leave. It doesn't really do anything for me. Half of it's grainy. They're going for that Victorian. It's supposed to be 2105. Camera technology hasn't improved. I don't know. So what do you guys think? Is it, do you own this game? Have you seen it? Have you heard of it? I don't know anything about EOS Press. Never heard a word of them. They have a supplement on Drive-Thru-RPG. Again, all the books are in PDF. I haven't seen any hard copies except on Amazon. Drive-Thru-RPG is only showing the PDF. I agree with Yazla. An interesting concept. Yeah, only a PDF on Drive-Thru RPG, and hardcover from $24. So it's used. There's 3 new going for $90. This is. I'm going to go on a little rant here. Yesterday, when I was looking for a hard copy of Dark Heresy second edition, and I went on to Amazon.com, which for me is a popular buy because I have a Prime account, and so I don't have to wait, but usually 2 days, maybe 3 days at most, to get a copy of an RPG if I'm trying to order it. And a growing trend I've seen, and I expect this on eBay because we go to eBay to look for stuff that might be hard to get, but not Amazon. And one of the things that Amazon's allowing its sellers to do is place their own price. So if you are an authorized Amazon reseller, meaning you can advertise your products and wares on Amazon, you're allowed to set whatever price you want. And what miffs me is I went on Amazon looking for the Dark Heresy second edition because it's out of print. Fantasy Flight doesn't have any in stock. I went to their website. They don't have anything they've liquidated everything, which is why if you go to Miniature Market or GameNerds.com, shameless plug for either one of those online retailers, you can find discounted prices of the first edition and second edition. But on Amazon Prime, I found a seller who was selling, I believe he had 3 copies, had multiple copies of Dark Heresy second edition for a list price of $290 for a book that was printed 4 years ago, 2014. That's ridiculous. The book is not that popular. The book, and this is what I feel that they are preying on the uninitiated or the unintelligent. Excuse me. And I don't mean unintelligent in a negative way. What I mean is misinformed. If you're not a big eBay person, if you're a teenager and you don't know anything about eBay, or you're just now getting into tabletop RPGs and you're looking for a book, you may be tempted to go to Amazon because that's a one-stop shop. Well, like I was, and it's disconcerting to see these retailers. Yeah, Asla and Farrell, I agree. Yes, Farrell, go back and watch. It's on my Discord channel. I put up the review of Dark Heresy second edition and first edition. It miffs me when I see retailers trying to take advantage of the ignorant public. And that's not cool because you can go on Drive-Thru RPG and buy all of those books in PDF for like $20 for the core rule book. So Asla is saying that before Atomic Highway got bought and became print on demand, I'd seen them for $600+. Yeah, that's crazy. I could see paying that much for an original Dune RPG, because that is quite rare and only so many were produced. In fact, I don't think that many were produced at all. I believe that was Decipher Press, and they went under before they were actually. It may have been released, but I don't remember. But the point being is look around, people. Don't just buy off of Amazon. Go to eBay, go to Craigslist. Believe it or not, you can actually find some cool RPG stuff on Craigslist. eBay is always an option. But again, eBay, you're subject to the sharks out there. They're selling. They believe they have something that's of value, and the price is driven by the demand. The demand for Dark Heresy second edition is not that high. I don't think anybody should pay more than $60 for a hard copy. And that's if you really, really want it. I mean, if you're going to pay $290, hell, send it to me. I can put that money to good use, and I'll send you a pristine copy of my Dark Heresy if you're willing to pay $290 for it. Because I'm unemployed. I can use the money. But just shop around. Drive-Thru RPG Now, which is it's going away if it's not already gone away. They're the same company for those that don't know. Drive-Thru RPG is the mainstream, and RPG Now was like the indie press, and they just weren't getting the business that Drive-Thru was getting. So they incorporated everything that was in RPG Now into Drive-Thru. I'm not sure if that's exactly happened or not, because I followed a link yesterday to RPG Now and it worked. So it wasn't cached on my computer either. So for what it's worth. So I'm just saying, buyer beware. Yeah, only see the sharks because no one wants to go near them. Yeah. Um, it's just ridiculous that prices would go that high and for a game book. I mean, it's an RPG. I mean, if you've got the disposable income and you can afford a $300 RPG book, go for it. And please post a video and brag about how much you paid for it, because I don't have that kind of money. Even when I was working and I was making over 100K a year, I still didn't spend that kind of money on an RPG. Maybe on a Kickstarter, I did spend 200 and something dollars on the Torg Kickstarter, which, hindsight being 2020, I wish I wouldn't have done, because I don't play the game anymore. I don't have anyone to play it with. And while it's an okay game, I like the original version better. Second edition is good. I do like the mechanics. I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. But I do think it's a good game. And but if I'm going to play Torg, I like the original Torg, but I think I would go back to playing Savage Worlds, because I think Savage Worlds can do everything Torg does. Yeah, there's an algorithm out there, Aslan. He's saying that there's a bot or something that raises prices. Like when he raises his prices, he goes and checks other sites and the prices raise. Yeah, a lot of these pay websites will use an algorithm where it keeps track of all the other sites' prices, and so that they're not underpricing their product, which makes total sense. But the flip side is, I don't know about you, but for me, if I see everybody selling a book for 60 and I go to this other person and they have, or website, and they have decent reviews and they're selling it for 40, guess who I'm going to buy from? And that's just, it's the vicious cycle. But if you wait too long, you will eventually see that price go up, unless whoever's selling it or the person has multiple copies and is just trying to liquidate it, which is what Miniature Market does. They buy volume and then they turn around and sell it dirt cheap. I'm a huge fan of the Infinity Miniatures game, and they sell a lot of the Infinity miniatures, a lot of the older stuff, for literally half of what it was at retail. Reason being is nobody wants to buy the old miniatures, except for a few people that want miniatures that aren't made anymore or aren't available yet as a resculpt. And so they want that copy of that miniature and they're willing to pay for it. And who wouldn't pay half price for a miniature that they can't get anymore? I would. So yeah, and I buy a lot of my Malifaux miniatures from Miniature Market. They do a lot of box sets and discounts. So Miniature Market and Game Nerds, great resources. eBay, of course, is always a good resource, but just buyer beware. Look at the prices. I bought the D&D, the new sleeved box set of D&D with the revised rules. Hold on one second. I bought this beast. It was retailing for, I think, $200 on Amazon, or on the Watsy store. This is the metallic cover edition. I didn't get the alternate covers, which now I kind of wish I did. And to believe it or not, I think Miniature Market had one still available with the alternate covers. And I was gonna pick it up, but I wound up getting laid off last week, and so I canceled that purchase. But here's the metallic cover. The camera here doesn't really pick it up, but it is very metallic looking when you look at it, almost shiny, for lack of a better word. And of course, all the information is revised, which makes this Dungeon Master happy. Although I don't run a lot of D&D, but I bought this off of Miniature Market for $120, I think. And I think it was retailing at the time for 150 plus 20, 70 plus tax and everything, shipping. It was right at $200. You could buy this. Let's see if there's a price on here. Oh, in the US is $169. So $170, you could buy this. And I got it, and then plus shipping and taxing, and tax and shipping brings it real close to $200, $190 or something like that. And I got this for, I want to say 110, 112 off of Miniature Market, when Amazon was selling it for 220 at one point, because they were all the rage. It's supply and demand. It's that simple. It's a beautiful boxed sleeve edition. It's sitting down here by my desk because it won't fit in the bookshelf. Unfortunately, that bookshelf was made in the 70s, and most of my RPGs are too big, which is why you'll see a lot of them laying down and flat or whatever. So anyway, I've babbled on long enough. I just wanted to pop that little review out. We're coming up on 45 minutes. I want to thank everybody who watched. And again, as always, like and subscribe. It helps out the channel. If you feel the inclination to donate some cash my way, you can go to Zelly Pay. If you're a mobile banker, which most of us are nowadays on our smartphone, if you check your smartphone app, there's probably a Zelly, Zelle, option in there, and you can send money, donate it to me through John Polak or jpolak@gmail.com. As always, like and subscribe. And I'm on MeWe, I'm on Discord. Feel free to hit me up anytime, talk about games. I'm running online through Fantasy Ground right now, a Esper Genesis game, and I'm getting ready to run in person here in Duluth a Scum and Villainy game. So obviously I'll post up about that. Asla Feral Games, you guys, thanks for popping in. I don't see there were 5 people in the channel, but you're the only 2 that posted. So as always, thank you guys. I'll probably whip out another video tomorrow, and we'll go from there. So as always, thanks for watching. Peace and hair grease, and remember, be nice.